All right. All right, so here we are. I have... So I was going to move my chair around because the sun is setting in this room and you can see the light shining through, but I thought it looked kind of cool. And the house that I'm in, it's over 100 years old, so some of the refractions that are on my face are because the glass itself is ripply, which, if you're familiar with really old glass is essentially a liquid that is moving very, very slowly. So if you have glass that's over 100 years old, you will often see it ripply, like in old churches. Oh, the sun went behind a cloud. Well, that's nice. So I'm going to get started on episode 1 of Deep Shift, which I'm very excited about and a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive, because this is a podcast that I've wanted to start for a long time, but just haven't had the right opportunity. So now is the best time that I can think of. Welcome to Deep Shift. I am Michael Armstrong, and this is a podcast about the awakening of humanity and the shift in consciousness that's taking place within each of us and as a society. And there is an extravagant, unprecedented event happening at this moment, which just blows my mind. Sometimes I have to stop and realize that the entire world is shut down.
Moments ago, California Governor Gavin Newsom ordering everyone in the state to stay at home.
Australia enters a suppression phase in the pandemic, with the Prime Minister urging us to stay home over Easter.
New York State is essentially shutting down, and with it, the nation's largest city.
The entire planet. This has never happened before in the modern world. So just to take a step back, about 2 weeks ago, I was driving up to Ashland, Oregon. I'm like, I'm going to move to Ashland. I was at a party in LA, and I knew I wanted to come to the Pacific Northwest, but I wasn't quite sure where. I thought maybe Portland, great town. But I was at this party. I met this girl, and beautiful girl, and she's like, you should move to Ashland. And I was like, really? Why? And she says, the people there are so friendly. It's got kind of that spiritual vibe. It's like Sedona, but in the mountains. And I've lived in Sedona, and I dig that vibe. I like the spiritual community. I like the small town. And so I drove up here not having a place to live and thinking, okay, I'm just going to find a place. Everything's going to unfold quite naturally. And I'm staying in an Airbnb at the time. It's a tiny home. It was literally the size of a bed. Perfect. I loved it. It was like my little sleeping pod. And the moment I got to Ashland, I found a house that I loved. And I wanted to rent a house. I just lived in Austin, Texas. And I was in downtown in this high rise. I loved it, but I wanted a house. And so they said it's available, but not for 2 weeks. I was like, okay, I'll live in this tiny home for a little bit. Well, as I was living in the tiny home, this pandemic appears. I had been hearing about the coronavirus for quite some time. And even as I got here, we're bumping elbows, we're doing the cordial stuff you do in a pandemic, which I guess maybe it hadn't yet reached pandemic stage. It was still easy. It was still casual. I was going out for a good solid week. While I was here, I was going out and meeting people and going to events and ecstatic dance, tea houses, like all these different really cool things that this town has to offer. And then all of a sudden, almost out of nowhere, pandemic. Stay inside. You have to stay inside because this thing is spreading and this is serious. I was like, wow, okay. And at the time, I was a bit over this tiny home. It had been about a week now. And so I decided to move to a hotel. So I was staying at the Columbia Hotel in downtown Ashland. And I booked it for a week. And it was right when I booked it that everything went down. I got a letter under my door in the hotel that said, "Hey, Michael, we have moved all of the staff to our other hotel. There are no longer any other guests here. We've stopped booking guests, and you're the last person at this hotel. We just want you to know that you will be the only person here day and night." And I still had a week in this hotel. And so I thought it was kind of cool because it's the oldest hotel in Ashland, Oregon. And it looks old. It feels old. It almost feels kind of haunted. And by this time, I guess they moved everyone to their other hotel because they wanted to slowly kind of get all the guests out. But because I had booked for a week, they let me stay. And so here I was in this hotel by myself as this pandemic. So I go to the store, go to the supermarket, and I'm like, God, I got to stock up on food. And so I stock up on all this canned stuff, beans, rice. It had yet to really reach the whole phase where people are freaking out and buying everything they can off the shelves. And so I get what I can, and I keep running into this girl. I keep running into her on each aisle. And we kind of make small talk about the apocalypse and the pandemic. And eventually we're like, okay, we need to just exchange numbers. So we exchanged numbers, and we did end up going on a date just before full-on lockdown. Like just before everything, that was like right as I just made a new friend, and boom, can't leave your house. Everyone's got to stay inside. So what's happening on this planet right now? I left the hotel. I eventually got to move into this house that I absolutely love. It's just the energy of this place is wonderful. It's got multiple rooms. So I have a room for this podcast. I have a room for an office, my bedroom. What is going on this planet right now? What is happening on Earth? And there are a lot of things happening. Just before this happened, I saw the stock market going up. It was going up, 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 up. I'm like, this looks like a very good time to invest. So I put all my money into all the different stocks that I thought were great. Tesla, Apple, you name it. And then all of a sudden, I'd realized that you started hearing news stories about, this thing could actually affect Apple's production line. So I put an order in to take all my money out. I got to take all my money out. And then I second guessed myself. It's like, no, I can't take it all. What if it keeps going up? You know that thought. What if it keeps going up? I kind of want to lose out. I had already made money. It was great. That would have been fantastic. But I canceled the order to sell. The next day, the stock market crashes. And I'm like, oh no, what should I do? Should I take all my money out now? So I was like, yeah, I got to take all my money out. This thing could go even deeper, which it did. It went even lower. So I took all my money out. It was a little dip, lost a little bit. It's all good. And which, by the way, if you ever see me investing in something, just don't invest just don't. I seem to invest right at the wrong time. It's the right time. It's pretty good, but it's just before a dip. In 2018, I invested in Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency market. In that December, like everything was skyrocketing. I'm like, yeah, I'm making all this money, and then boom, it crashes. So, I mean, I guess you could follow my investment advice, but just once you make a little bit of money, take it out. I seem to hop on that train. So the financial system has completely collapsed. And we haven't yet felt the reverberations of that within society. The stock market crashed. People can't afford to live in their homes. Everyone is at home. Everyone. It's magnificent. Everyone who had jobs, Starbucks, restaurants, owners of restaurants, all the different stores everywhere, they're all closed, all except for the essentials. And so nobody's making money, to the point where governments are paying their citizens a living wage. Well, relatively living. $1,200 in the US. And that's a one-time, I believe that's a one-time thing right now. It should be monthly at this point. It should be a monthly. I think that would get people's spirits up to spend. But we're at this point where we're in this total transformation on this planet. Everyone's at home. Which I can't imagine all the stories that are unfolding of people who are now living with their spouses, living with their kids, 24/7 with them all the time. You know, like there are people falling in love. I think there's going to be a lot of quarantine babies. A lot of quarantine babies. It's April right now, so come January, there's going to be 2021, there's going to be the quarantine baby boom. Mark my words. You're having people falling in love. Imagine the people who just met and they're like, hey, should we move in together? Yeah, sure. You know, boom, quarantine. You can't see anyone. You're stuck. Just the two of you. Or you're in a house with a group of people. Or like myself, I just moved into this house. 4-bedroom house, all by myself. I'm stoked. I'm excited about it. I get to decorate each room. Each room I like go into and kind of, okay, it's the office. You know, it's going to be white with plants. So I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving what's happening for my world. And then every now and then you take a step back and you're like, whoa, okay, there's actually a virus. There's a pandemic. I go outside. I go to the store. Everyone keeps 6 feet away from each other. You know, everyone kind of like has that like stay away from me. I was at the hardwood store getting some stuff, some supplies for the house, and you know, I had my mask on, I had gloves on, I was doing my thing, but I'm going down this aisle, and I passed by this woman, and I guess I was too close, and I probably shouldn't have even passed by her in the aisle. I should have, you know, because that's less than 6 feet. And as I passed, she goes, "Oh my, excuse, can you not?" I was like, "Whoa, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to." I was like, "Oh, I felt really bad about that." But it's an interesting time, and an interesting transitional phase for people. So it's said when people have free time, they're able to explore their mind, they're able to explore their life, they're able to explore their purpose. And right now the world is paused. Everyone has a moment to say, hey, is this what I want to do? What do I want to do? Do I want to go back to that job? You know, we wake up, we go to work, we work until we're tired, we fall asleep, we repeat. And this is giving everyone a chance to just slow down. And when people slow down, beautiful things happen. Life purpose, thoughts, conversations. I think there's going to be an internet boom. I think that it's like, imagine the mall, and you know, there's like people trickling in and out of the mall, but all of a sudden the government says, okay, now everyone needs to go to the mall. So everyone's going to the mall, and every store in the mall has a flood of people going by, and their sales just go way up. And right now that's happening with the internet. The internet has a crowd of people all flooding to it, like Zoom, the video broadcasting service. They were saying that, I think it was, they normally have 10 million people doing their video calls, but right now there's 100 million people doing video calls. 100 million, 10 times. Mark Zuckerberg was saying Facebook Lives are just, 10 times what they were. Everything is just blowing up right now because everyone is online. So now's the time to start that internet company. Now's the time, if you have an idea for a podcast, like, look at this. I was waiting for the right moment to start this podcast, and it's not a coincidence that it started during this pandemic, during this great shift. The idea of Deep Shift came when I was in Amsterdam with my friend, and it was just kind of a joke. Deep shift. It sounds funny. And we were thinking about it, and we thought, actually, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good. It's kind of good. It's kind of catchy. And so I've ever since I've been young, I've thought about this shift that's happening with humanity, and the idea of this conscious awakening, this conscious shift, just excited me beyond belief. And I knew that part of the reason why I came to this planet was to help with that shift, help with that transition, because it just excites me. And I think we can change the world. This world is completely changed. It's never going to be the same after this. It's going to be similar. It will be it's going to go back. It's going to feel like the same old Earth, but there's going to be a shift. There's going to be a shift on this planet. And that excites me so much. And right now, all the work we do right now is going to continue outward and create this ripple effect. So start that online company, start that podcast, do the creative work or the inner work. Now's the time. Now is the time to do what your heart desires. Inner work, outer work, family work, like people who have a family at home, kids, a wife, a husband. Now's time to hang out, to get to know them, to just share some really, really quality time, because this moment is going to end very soon. I think before the end of the year, it's going to go, people are going to start going back to work slowly. I think there's going to be an option for online, because the virus will still kind of be there, so there's going to be this hesitation for people to go back into crowded areas, for people to go back to concerts. There's going to be this certain, there's going to be a slow until people experience those moments, and just it's not even in anyone's mind, and people haven't heard of anyone in their county or their state that are getting it. That's when it will get more back to normal. But I don't know when that's going to be. That could be a couple years, because it doesn't just go away like that. But the benefit of all of this happening is that people are focusing on their health. And I think that's very, very beneficial, because the more healthy we are, the better our bodies work, the more we can operate on a frequency and on a level that is optimal for creating your life purpose, right? So if you're eating terribly, not working out, if you're just gaining weight, or if you're headed down the direction of someone that the coronavirus could potentially affect, you are not headed down a path that is towards your life purpose. And what this is doing is this is showing people that, okay, we should focus on strengthening our immune systems. Like Wim Hof, let's get some breathing. Let's do some cold water therapy. What do you want to do? What excites you? Right now, I'm taking mushroom supplements, all different sorts of reishi, cordyceps, all different kinds of mushrooms that lion's mane, really good for the system, for the body. When you crush garlic, when you chop it up and when you crush it, wait 10 minutes and something called allicin is released, which is just so good for you, so good for strengthening your immune system and helping your body fight off anything. And you're not supposed to cook that. So if you crush it up, put it raw on your food. I think cooking slightly takes away some of that property, but there's still a lot of other properties within it if you're cooking with it that are very good for you. So we have all of this shift, all this transformation, all these new things that people are doing and people are trying, really that people are thinking about, because before you could be as unhealthy as you wanted and you didn't have to really worry too much about it, I mean, you did, but people just kind of didn't really think about the different diseases and things that could potentially creep up on you with an unhealthy lifestyle, because they're so common. But now we have this, and it's such a shock to so many people that it's like, wow, okay. My cousin reached out and she's like, hey, what can we eat to strengthen our immune system? It's like, wow, What a great question. What a great question. Lemon water, drinking lemon water in the morning, just chugging the lemon water, because lemon water, even though it's acidic, when it enters your body, it becomes alkaline. And you want your body to be as alkaline as possible, because sicknesses, viruses, cancers, those sorts of things can't live in a body, in an ecosystem that is very alkaline. They love more acidic bodies, like lots of sugars and high sugars, alcohols, like that kind of stuff creates a fast foods, processed foods, that creates a more acidic body. And the majority of people have more acidic bodies because it's so common. But eating healthy, and you can just Google it, what are some good alkaline foods, and eat those. But right now is such a great time to alkalinize our bodies, because what we want is our body to be one in which this virus, should we get it, enters our system and there are no symptoms. And what we've seen is that if your body's in healthy shape, you can get it and you just have no symptoms. You might even have like a slight sore throat, and that's it. And that's it. So it's a remarkable time to focus on health. It's a great time to go within. It's a great time to go within and ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want to do? If you want to start an internet company, do it. It's not hard. It's very easy. I've started many, many internet companies, over 10. T-shirt company, clothing company, belt buckles. I started apps, websites, video game trading website. I have so many different things. Ever since I was in high school, I was creating companies that could make me money, that were fun. In fact, I created a belt buckle it was a Nintendo controller, the old school NES Nintendo controllers. And I attached a piece to the back of it to make it a belt buckle. So it was literally like big old honky Nintendo Entertainment System controller belt buckle. And I made a few of them and posted them in message boards. And this was a while ago. This was like probably 2003. And all of a sudden, it started to get picked up. People were really into it. I was like, wow, okay. And then I was getting phone calls from people. I got a phone call from FHM magazine. And they were like, hey, we want to interview you. And this belt buckle became a trend, like around the world. It was in Wired magazine, FHM, EGM, Nintendo Power, all the internet blogs, all the tech blog. It was like all over. It just, all of a sudden, it was like one of those fads that just took off. Year and a half. It was just a really, really fun ride. I had these metal pieces that I designed in Photoshop, and I found a company on Alibaba in China to turn them into like a little belt buckle piece that I could just screw on real easily. And somehow from just a Photoshop, like, okay, here are the inches, here are the centimeters. And this is the front. This is the two sides. It had the top and the side view, top and side view. That's it. And somehow they were able to make a metal piece exactly as I wanted it. And they shipped me a ton of them. And I found another company who could make, it was almost like the knockoff NES, because I was going on eBay, I was finding all the controllers, but they were all running out. And so I eventually found a source in China that could just make them for me. And yeah, it just took off. It was a lot of fun. That was an adventure. But if you have an idea, do it. And once you launch it, put it out there. Start to share it with message boards, share it with blogs, share it with your social media profile, share it with, from what I found, I had a t-shirt company, and every time we'd release a shirt, we would send it to blogs. So if it was like a video game shirt, we'd send it to all the different video game blogs. And what you find is that if a blog picks it up, if someone picks it up that a lot of people look at, it can potentially go viral. And so we'd have some of our shirts get picked up because they were silly, funny sayings, and blogs would love to write about them. And if it was a big enough blog, all the little blogs would pick it up, and then the bigger blogs would pick it up from the little blogs, and then it would just take off. So start those companies and try as hard as you can not to live in fear right now, because there is a pandemic of fear that's much stronger than the virus currently. And I have felt it. I have felt the fear. And I've had moments where I'm just watching the news and reading the news, and I'm just like, wow, this thing is very contagious. I can't leave my house. I got to stockpile all this food. And then I take a moment, I take a step back, and I realize that you can't live in fear, because fear is consuming. Fear is the opposite of creation. Fear is crippling. And so it's good to feel the fear fully. It's good to talk about the fear, because then it becomes a thing. It doesn't become an identity. And you can let it go. You can let it go, because everything is going to be okay. This is all going to blow over, and everything's going to be fine. We're already starting to see things become good in China, where it started. And now is a moment to shine. If you are one of the few who are creative right now, you have the whole world ready. You have the whole world watching. Most people are watching the news. Most people are just observing. But if you can be creating right now, now's a beautiful time to focus on creation and to focus on what you want in life. Focus on that spiritual journey. Religion has become a really hot topic. Fascinating. I was working on a funnel, a marketing sales funnel online, and I was using a product called ClickFunnels. And I was watching the CEO of ClickFunnels talk about the coronavirus, because he released a newsletter, and he just wanted to let everyone know that they have everyone working from home, what they're doing, yada, yada, yada. And at the very end of this video, he says, "Hey guys, I just want to talk about God right now." I was like, wow. How often do you hear the CEOs of companies, after they've talked about, what's going on with the company, want to talk about God and religion? And it's just one of those times where whatever you believe, to focus on and to develop that personal relationship with whatever it is that you believe. Because the energy is very strong on this planet right now. In fact, today that this podcast is being released on 4/4, there's a global meditation. And in studies, they've found in communities that meditate in groups, in large numbers, crime goes down. It just naturally reverberates through the consciousness of the people in the town. And so we're going to have millions of people meditating at the same time for awakening, for world peace, for people to come together, for unity, which is what we need right now. We need unity. And just before this was happening, there was so much division, anger, fighting, Democrats, Republicans, yada, yada, all of that, near civil war. It was just ridiculous. And all of a sudden, people are working together, and all the petty stuff, the political arguments, just seem so small in comparison to what we're currently going through. And what we're currently going through is a major shift in society. Even with education is never going to be the same, because we're going to find that all these kids who are now learning online, and they're going to be learning online until summer. They're going to be home until summer. And all these kids are now learning online. I think they're going to find that a lot of kids actually learn better by sitting at their comfortable couch rather than a hard square desk watching a teacher lecture. I know I would have. I could not listen to a teacher lecturing. I could not. I would draw or talk to my friend. I just couldn't. And so I just want to put it out there that everything's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We are going to be okay.